Last week we started a series called Words That Change Your Life, and I was encouraged when we left here last week, just because I just felt like we're just making headway, you know. We're all very, very busy people. We talk amongst each other, and we just realize at time we don't have a lot of it seems like, because we're so spread thin. But when we can come spend 30 minutes together in the Word of God and leave talking about forgiveness, and then I can't tell you how many people last week called, how many people I seen in the supermarket or wherever that stopped and talked about how God spoke into their lives about forgiveness. And it shows me that God is working, you know, that He is moving in our lives, He's doing something. And if we're open to that, and we allow Him to come in and do those things that He needs to, then it works. It's really simple. I think sometimes we just make it hard, you know. Sometimes we just feel like we need to do it on our own, or it's our own thing, and I don't know. Give up, man. Don't do it that way anymore. Listen to these words over the next few weeks. Apply them to your life, and just watch God make it easier for you, and then the people that are around you. You know, when you're forgiving other people, you're just a nicer person to be around. Today's word that we're going to talk about that truly can change your life is the word blessing. And so, when you say that word, the first thing that comes to my mind is a Bible story. Abraham had a son that he loved very, very much, and his name was Isaac. And Isaac had two sons. Those two sons were Jacob and Esau, not in that order because Esau was the first of those two. Now, as they were born and began to grow up, in the middle of this story, they're not just young men anymore. They're 40 plus years. And like always, it seems like, if you're the baby of the family, you know, for some reason, mom just always kind of takes a liking to you. You know, you're just always the little one, you know. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. I don't know if it's just because they know that they're going to be leaving, and when they leave, there's nobody else around or whatever. So they invest a lot of time in those young children. And so what happens in this story, though, is Jacob and his mother come up with a plan. They devise a scheme. And they are going to take and trick Isaac into giving Jacob Esau's birthright, or his blessing. Now, if you were the firstborn in a family in this time, then if you received a birthright, you receive a large portion of the family's inheritance. You are going to kind of take over that. And Jacob knew that. His mom knew that. They didn't want that for each other. And so the plan was set. In Genesis chapter 27, verses 30 through 32, it says, "Now it came about, as soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, and Jacob had hardly gone from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from hunting. Then he had also made savory food and brought it to his father, and he said to his father, 'Let my father arise and eat his son's game, that you may bless me.' So Esau's asking for this blessing. Isaac his father said to him, 'Who are you?' Now Isaac was old. He was in a bed. He was waiting for Esau to return so that he could bless him. But meanwhile, Jacob had come in. He had disguised himself as Esau, and he had allowed his father to bless him instead. And Isaac is just now realizing, and Esau is just now realizing what has taken place. It reads on, it says, 'I am your son, your firstborn Esau.' It says, 'Then Isaac trembled violently and said, Who is he then that hunted game and brought it to me so that I ate and all of it came before you? And blessed him. Yes, and he shall be blessed. And when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried out with exceeding great bitter cry. And he said to his father, Bless me even also, O my father. And he said, Your brother came deceitfully and has taken away your blessing. There's something about a blessing that we want, you know. Esau, like I said, he wasn't young at this point. It wasn't like a little boy coming to his dad and saying, I want you to be proud of me. He was 40 plus years old. And he desired for his dad so much because he was his firstborn, because it was tradition. He desired so much for that blessing to take place. You know, sometimes it seems like that whether you're a child still or you're older now, it seems like we've always tried to get our parents' approval. It's important to us, you know, no matter what. Good relationship, bad relationship with your parents. We've always tried our best to make sure that our parents were proud of us. Hey, Dad, look what I've done. Hey, watch me and what I'm doing. You know, you remember either saying those words or maybe you have young kids and that just rings true in your mind that you hear that. Maybe you've been over visiting somebody that has kids and they try to get your attention by doing cartwheels or flips or doing some trick that really isn't that impressive, but they feel like it is in their life. And so they want you to look at them. And even as we get older, you know, we invite our parents over to our new house, or if we get a new car, you know, we call them up on the phone and say, hey, I want you to know what we got today. Or if we're happy about maybe graduating or doing something special, anything special, it seems like that it's kind of universal that we all long to have some type of blessing from our parents and for those people that we're around. What's the word blessing mean? Simply this. It's a formula of words that express fondness, confidence in, and it's a recognition of a specific person. Fondness for, confidence in, or just recognizing somebody specifically. When a Hebrew father had a son, he would take that son and he would begin to invest in him in his early years. And he would try to tell him all the things that he could so that he would prepare him to be a man. And then at a certain age, that father would bring other men that he had known well, that knew the Scripture, that had invested maybe in their families' lives before, and he would bring them together for a ceremony. And in that ceremony, those men would invest in that young man's life. And really what they would do is they would give him a platform on how he should live in the future. They would bless him. They would try to teach him what was right. They would try to teach him what was wrong. It says in Genesis chapter 27 that God blessed Abraham, and then Abraham blessed Isaac, and then Isaac blessed Jacob, and Jacob blessed his 12 sons, and then the 2 grandsons. And if you can see that in Genesis chapter 27, You can see generation after generation after generation, they would bring these people together. They would bless them, or they would give them a platform to live by, so that in the future they would continue to do the same things over and over and over and over again. Now, you might sit here today and you say, I don't have that tradition built into my family where maybe a parent invested in me that way. Maybe several of you do. If you do, I'm happy for you. I'm sure that your life has been probably a lot simpler than a lot that have not. But there's something that's important to say right here, is that there's a point in time in everybody's life where they have to decide if something is going to start with their generation. Just because your grandparents, just because your parents did not set a foundation for you, did not invest in you maybe in the ways that you wanted to, maybe the times that you really want a blessing from them, where you said, hey, look what I'm doing. This is important to me. I want you to see how this affects me. Maybe you didn't get all of that, but at some point, don't you think that has to change in your life? Because I think it's very, very important that from this point on, we decide whether or not we're going to be a blessing, not only to our children like we've been talking about here just in the last few minutes, but maybe just to people all around us. It's important to Jesus. Mark chapter 10, everything was kind of a hustle bustle. Everything was really, really busy. And the disciples tell these children that are coming to Jesus that he doesn't have time for them, that he's too busy. But when Jesus saw this, he was indignant. And he said to them, permit the children to come to me. Do not hinder them. And he took them in his arms and he began to bless them. What did he do? He took them in his arms and he began to invest in these kids. The time that he had for that moment, I understand busy, needed to go to other places, and the people that were so close to Jesus did not even see the moment that could be captured, but Jesus did. He says, I need to stop, and I need to invest in these kids. I need to bless them in such a way so that they remember this time that they have with me. Because it's important. Because they're going to remember it when I leave. You see that? So many times we miss these opportunities to bless somebody, especially those that are closest around. We really do get overwhelmed with life, and we prioritize things in such a way that sometimes I think we think like the disciples do. Hey, we're busy now. That can wait. I don't have time to watch you turn cartwheels right now. I'm watching Duck Dynasty. And we prioritize it in such a way that we miss opportunities to bless. Dads, it gets pretty bad when our kids sit across a room and they call out our name, and we are so focused on something other than them that we don't even hear their voice. There's opportunities that we can bless people's lives if we just decide just to be involved. Jesus was indignant about it. Don't you dare keep those people away from me. Permit them always to come to me. Anytime they need something, anytime they want to be around me, I want them to be around because I want to have this opportunity to be able to speak life into them. How can we communicate blessings to people? I think the first thing is sometimes is a meaningful touch. A meaningful touch. It says, then his father Isaac said to him, please come close and kiss me, my son. So he came close, and he kissed him. Now, I know I can only speak for guys, but as you got older, or maybe as your children got older, this kissing thing kind of went by the wayside, And so, correct me if I'm wrong, but like my son, as he was little bitty, he was in the crib, and Erin, you'd walk by, and you'd lean over in the crib and you'd kiss her little forehead or something, and it was precious. And they get out of the crib and they start walking around, and you grab hold of them, and you bear hug them, and you kiss them and hug them and whatever. Now, as they get older and older and older, you know this, right? They don't want you to do that anymore. You get to school and, you like lean over, you're driving, and don't dare pucker up and act like you're going to kiss them. What are you doing? What are you doing? There's people around me. What are you? If you can drop me off here like 2 blocks down, So here we are. You got to remember, he's 40 years plus in this story. And his dad says, if you'll lean in and you'll kiss me. There's something about touch that matters today. I think sometimes we miss it. I had a pastor that I grew up underneath, and I love very, very much. He's a special guy. And I would watch as people would walk by him, and he'd grab their arm like this, had massive hands, just huge hands. I got long fingers, but not big hands, His hands were just huge. Because I remember he'd grab you when you went by. And he'd grab hold of you, and it meant something. It meant like, there's a ton of people around, and we don't have time to sit here and talk, at length. But I want to recognize you, that you're here, and I want you to know. And just his touch, just this man of God, just grabbing hold, you were just like, wow, he recognized me. He knew I was here. It meant something for him, enough to go out of his way to make sure, as I was just passing by, that he would stop me for that moment in time. And it's important. How many people pass by us on a daily basis? That just a handshake or just a smile or just any type of touch, any type of just moments that we'd have, that we could literally change their lives. You know what I'm talking about? If you were raised in a home where there was none of that, where, it was just like there was no affection shown, I'm sorry that you missed out on that. I really am. Because there are so many opportunities for blessing and letting your children, your wife, the people that you love around them, by just a moment of your time and a meaningful touch, you can change attitudes. It just changes everything.